What is Hunter even talking about? Like, I legit can't even try to explain half the things that Hunter Hearst Helmsley is trying to tell us these days because it's all word salad, right? He's always spoken in circles. Hunter has always given us word salad. A lot comes out, nothing of substance is ever spoke. That's always been Hunter. But now more than ever that he's in this new big position in the company, and I understand you got to fluff up your product, you got to make it sound good, you got to sell it. And you sell it by believing in it and hyping it up. I get it. Trust me, people like Paul Heyman can sell ice cream to an Eskimo. There's good salespeople, and there's ones that are just not good at all. Paul Heyman's really good. Hunter clearly not so much. There's ways to go about hyping up your product, trying to give yourself a pat on the back. And then there's what Hunter recently said about the Attitude Era and what he is deeming the Netflix era. And it is laughably, while simultaneously obnoxiously absurd. And you bet your ass we're going to talk about it in this part 2 of the Amped Up Show for Thursday, December the 5th, 2024. Let's just say Pinocchio's got nothing on Hunter Hearst Helmsley. If you don't know the story of Pinocchio, every time Pinocchio bullshitted, his schnoz grew bigger. Hunter Hearst Helmsley at this point, couple 2-tree lies away from breaking that schnoz off and using it as a kendo stick in a wrestling match. That's coming up in today's, again, part 2 of the Amped Up Show. Part 1 went up just a few hours ago. Some really good conversation in that upload. Really good discussions. You guys really rocked it out in the comments. It was big. I was not planning on going that in depth with story number 1, the big Dustin Rhodes story, telling fans to just enjoy wrestling and stop attacking the AEW product. And BC gave you a very honest take to what I am seeing in the community as it pertains to AEW and the bashing that they are receiving. And it was a really good discussion, man. We went really in depth. You guys added on to it. I can absolutely see where Dustin is coming from. It's no longer in many cases constructive criticism. It's just bashing. It's become a shtick. It's become a narrative. But on the flip side, Dustin has to understand that the product is not up to par. It's not where it should be. And fans, their own tried and true fans, are trying to tell AEW this, and it doesn't seem like they're listening. And then on top of that, a lot of this divide and the tribalism and all of that, a lot of it did come from Dustin's boss. So that's where it begins. It looks like TK has toned it down like 90% from just even a month ago. So that's good to see. Those are steps in the right direction. But AEW helped kind of foster that climate. So Dustin has to realize a lot of what he doesn't like right now and all of the criticism and the bashing even, a lot of that started from inside his own walls. It was a really good conversation, man, and I appreciate you guys for listening to every second of it. It looks like you guys, man, were really into it as well. And that was just the first story. We also talked Nick Khan, absolutely crushing all of our hopes and dreams for a better Raw on Netflix. And what Hunter said last month, remember? Oh, it's going to allow us to do this, this, and this. It's going to be so much better, and we're going to be able to do all these new things. And Nick Khan was like, no, we're not. If you don't know what we're talking about, that means you didn't catch that first upload. Again, it went up just a few hours ago. Make sure you guys check that out. It is, man, yeah, I kind of wish it wasn't a double upload day, so that upload could just sit on its own, because that's how good I feel that was. But it is what it is. At least I am able to tell you guys there was an upload a few hours ago. Go check it out. Smash that up. Help out the algorithm. all the good stuff. Also from that upload, a big shout out to JR9 Gaming with his Deadline Go Home Show edition of the NXT Weekly Roundup. Did not catch NXT. I have not read through the roundup yet, but I'll give a spoiler, a teaser to JR9's Weekly Roundup. It's in the comment section of the upload that just went up a few hours ago. It's a whole roundup in review of NXT. And JR9, it looked like there's a lot more negative than positive. So when I asked that question earlier in that upload, the Amped Up Show Part 1, I think that answered my question. If you know, you know. So check that out. It's in the comments, man. But yeah, much love. And I can't wait to give that an actual read when I have the time. And also, D Stands Alone. Big props. Chucking a coffee at the channel. I'll take the boat and the goat. Absolutely, D Stands Alone. In fact, I like that. But I thank you for keeping this channel amplified and powered up. D Stands Alone. So, a couple of shout outs from my unit for supporting this channel to an even higher level. Appreciate you guys big time. All right. Oh, one more thing. Well, two more things. First, go Pack Go. Tonight, we're hours away from the Packers versus the Lions. This is a big game for my Packers. If you're not a football fan, become one today if you don't mind. Support the green and gold of the Green Bay Packers. Become a Packer fan. I appreciate that big time. They will as well. We can always use your support. A big game for the Packers. We're 9-3. We could really use 10-3, make the Lions 11-2, and we're one step closer, not to just making playoffs, but to actually win our division over the Lions, which nobody is giving us a chance. But if we win tonight, yeah, I think we enter that conversation. It's going to be a massive game tonight. It's anybody's game. But much love to much support, much strength to my Green Bay Packers. And the second thing before I get into this absurd comment by Hunter Hearst Helmsley about the Attitude Era and the Netflix era, as far as it goes with CM Punk, AEW, and Ryan Nemeth, until I hear CM Punk's side of it, I don't want to get too in-depth with this. If you don't know what we're talking about, Ryan Nemeth has filed paperwork and is wanting compensation. We don't know the legality extent. We don't believe this is an actual suit, but he is demanding compensation, I believe, from AEW for certain activity when CM Punk and he were with AEW. Ryan Nemeth, the brother of Dolph Ziggler. He and Punk, if you guys don't know, they had great disdain for one another. Let's just say they're not buddies. So to the point where Nemeth, in paperwork that was filed in September, and this is via Fightful, mind you, paperwork that was filed in September, Nemeth is claiming that Punk had some type of executive or managerial role in AEW, but it was like kind of in secret. But he was more than just a wrestler, and we kind of knew that. I mean, he was given his own show, Collision, to basically run. But we were hearing he was not going to be with Omega and the Bucks in terms of executive. And the Bucks, I'm sure, would walk out if that was to happen. But he and Tony Khan had some type of deal. This is what Ryan Nemeth is not just alluding to, but basically saying. And because of that, CM Punk was making power moves. And Nemeth was not to be on any shows. Not just the ones that Punk was on, but no shows. So Nemeth was told to just stay at home. Not sit at catering and eat triple layered moose cake, but stay at home. To the point where Nemeth started to make calls to AEW saying, am I secretly fired? Like, what are we doing? Am I never working again for you guys? You're just going to pay me until the contract is up? What is going on? He was assured many times, he's not. Just relax, sit tight. He was finally brought to a Collision, which again, CM Punk was running at the time, and he was told to immediately go back home. He was one of several talents, by the way. I do remember that report. We actually spoke about it at the time that it happened. So apparently, Nemeth went to AEW management several times. Bucks, Tony Khan, legal department. They did nothing time after time. Now, you know, CM Punk is has been for many years just a big name. He had a lot of stroke at the time in AEW, and they didn't want to lose him. So they probably most likely talked to him about this, and he was like, I don't want to hear this ever again. I don't want to see the dude, and if I do hear about this again, I'll walk out. And Tony's like, all right, no. You just keep doing you. We'll let Ryan Nemeth sit at home, right? He's much lesser in name value to the audience. No harm, no foul. Most people aren't sitting around going, where's Ryan Nemeth been? So eventually got to the point where Nemeth and CM Punk both, I believe, like the same week exited AEW. Or no, CM Punk actually debuted with the WWE, I believe the same week that Nemeth finally ended his AEW run. I think that's what it was. But that was an interesting week, right? Nemeth is done with the company just as CM Punk is debuting for the WWE company. So it's like, what just, huh? It's just wild how that all worked out. But Nemeth is saying that CM Punk's actions, the way that he treated Nemeth, it was all beyond unprofessional, claims of harassment and even deeper, actually. And he's got like logs of this. So Punk left an entire paper trail to this. So this is obviously going to get bigger because Ryan Nemeth wants compensation from AEW now. And I doubt Tony is just going to want to fork it over. So this might become a big deal unless Tony just says, no, I don't want to do this whole CM Punk thing when he's not even with the company. Take the money. Who knows? But I don't think Tony Khan's going to just... Although it looks like, Nemeth has the paper trail. So if he says he continued to go to management and they did nothing about it, the only thing they told Nemeth to do is go out to the ring and cut a promo on Punk. That's got to be coming from the Bucks, you would think, right? It would be awesome if you just go to the ring and just start slaying CM Punk verbally. And he's like, no, I don't want, that's not going to solve my problem, dude. I'm in the doghouse because this dude who's just one of us, he's just a pro wrestler. Tony gave him too much power, and now he's on this ego trip, and he's basically has the power to fire me or at least keep me from showing up to work. I hope you guys are keeping, listen, this is a developing story just recently, within the last 16 hours. So, we're trying to gather more. I don't want to speak too in depth. That's just the initial filings, the initial complaints. A lot of that filed back in September. All we're hearing is he's looking for compensation. So once again, more details coming out and more CM Punk drama when he was with AEW. He was there for such a short amount of time. It is wild how much drama and trouble was brewed up in that short amount of time. CM Punk and AEW, if there was polar opposites, I don't know what it would be. It's that recipe. It's not good. Those ingredients don't go. AEW, CM Punk, it was a marriage that was set for divorce immediately. And unfortunately, they didn't get divorced immediately. So it just became a volatile pot of boiling water. And eventually, if you don't attend to that boiling water, it will boil over. Wild. So we'll follow that story, obviously. All right, now I want to talk about what this upload is intended for, right? Part 2 of the Amped Up Show, Thursday, December 5th, 2024. Salute to my unit. Let me get some coffee before we start. Yeah, you already see. Yeah, you see another Starbucks, right? That was polished off before we started recording. Getting my notes together for this upload, and then we brewed up a new coffee from the Amplified Monster 5000. Starbucks. This is a Dunkin'. See, you went from Starbucks to Dunkin', double dip. BC's fully amplified for this story, because you're damn right we gon' be. Because I don't know what Hunter's even speaking about anymore. Hunter Helmsley says this. I want you guys to hear the full statement. This was, he was being interviewed. He was promoting Netflix, WWE on Netflix. And this is what he says. Again, I want to preface this with this acknowledgement. We understand you need to fluff up the product. You're there to sell the product. Get it. There's ways to do it correctly, and then there's saying this garbage. Hunter says this. I think the moment that we're going through right now, I was in the Attitude Era at the peak of it, as many were. We didn't realize what it was in the moment. Having seen that, I see this, and I see it way, way bigger. I see this as this different moment of time in the business, and it being something different. People call this the Triple H era. I don't think it's that. I think at the end of it all, it's going to be called the Netflix era, because that's where the big change is. Where do I begin with this? First of all, can we just discuss real quick the word salad? Like, this guy he's like a hamster on a wheel. Right? You ever go to the pet store and you just watch the hamster go round and round and round, and we're all just kind of mesmerized by it, right? It's we just keep watching it, right? So everybody just keeps listening to this guy speak in word salad circles. I mean, listen to this, guys. I see it I see this as this different moment of time in the business, and it being something different. Like he's this grand wizard that sees what we don't. I see this as this different moment of time in the business. Of course, we all do, because it is, Hunter. It is a different time. First of all, we're going into 2025. You're leaving cable and you're going to Netflix. I'm glad that you see this is a different time in business. And then he says, this is being something different. I see it as being something different. It is different. Thanks for telling us you see what we see. It's going to a streaming platform. It's different. Yes. Thanks for telling us this. And he says, people call this the Triple H era. I don't think it's that. I think at the end of it, it's going to be called the Netflix era, because that's where the change is. So he calls this the Netflix era. And he says this, again, I was around during the Attitude Era, at the peak of it, as many were. We didn't realize what it was in the moment, but having seen the Attitude Era, being a part of the Attitude Era, I see this, and I see it being way, way bigger. He sees this era we're in now. He sees the Netflix era being bigger than the Attitude Era. Now, just so you know, this is not the first time Hunter has spoken like this. I mean, bluntly saying that this is bigger than the Attitude Era. I believe that's the first time he said that foolishness. But he's been speaking about this, so just so you know, he's not just talking business, guys, right? 2024 for many entertainment juggernauts, WWE for sure. Revenue is through the roof, right? That's entities willing to pay billions. That's resting on the back of what Vince and Kennedy McMahon has built for decades, and then finally liquidating, saying, hey, look what we built for decades, and now we're going to sell it, right? And that's how they got big TV deals and streaming service deals. You name it, they got it. Hundreds of millions of dollars from Saudi and countries that want the WWE product in their country. I mean, revenue, no question. Hunter's not just talking about revenue. He's literally talking about the creative of it, the interest and buzz of it, the feel of it. This is bigger than the Attitude Era. Dude, what are you talking about? This can't be. I want to believe that it's a bad attempt at fluffing up the product, trying to sell the product for Netflix, which is what he is there to do. I want to believe it's just that, and he's just saying stupid stuff, right? It's just stupidity is spewing. I want to believe that. But something tells me he truly believes it. Because now he's the hotshot in charge, don't forget. And everybody is always blowing smoke up his ass, right? He can do no wrong. When it's bad creative or bad segments or bad show, we swipe it underneath the rug. We just wait for the good stuff so we can say he's cooking. Right? You guys saw what happened with Braun Breaker and Ludwig this past Monday night on Raw, heel versus heel. That promo backstage to crickets. They saw it on the Tron. Nobody made a peep. Nobody made a sound. Nobody wants to talk about it. We all saw what happened with Gunther, trying to turn him face, or at the bare minimum a tweener, and the guy is being booed. Dominic is being cheered. Dominic, the guy who gets booed before he even says a word on the microphone. He's being cheered over the guy that Hunter is trying to make a face, Gunther. Dominic is being cheered. And then Balor comes out, a guy who even his own friends, the Judgment Day, can't stand. So he's a real heel that's going to get that heat and be booed. You would think. He delivers 3 coup de grace, and the crowd chants one more time. That was a Hunter Hearst Helmsley epic, colossal fail. Nobody wants to talk about all that from Monday. They just want to talk about the New Day segment and how well done it was. Hunter was cooking. He can do no wrong, right? And he's so used to that. So now he can spew all this and everybody will eat it up. They'll be there with a wooden bowl and a wooden spoon going, please, sir, can I have some more of your bullshit stew? You can't possibly believe that statement that the Netflix era will be way, way bigger than the Attitude Era. You can't believe that. There's no way. And you just look at facts. That's not just preference, right? That's not just going, yeah, but I like the Attitude Era better. And somebody else comes along and they're like, yeah, I like this era better. This isn't about what we liked better and what we didn't. This isn't about preference. This isn't about opinion. Factually, every box was checked off with the Attitude Era. And if you did go back to the late 90s, business was booming like it has never before. Business in totality has changed in the past several decades. The almighty dollar is different. The way business is conducted, the entertainment industry. So, and again, in the 90s, they were still trying to build what they could eventually sell, which they just did, to Endeavor, to Netflix, to Fox, to Saudi. But business was booming unlike anybody could have ever predicted back in that Attitude Era. But that's the factual side. But look at the buzz. Look at the energy. Look at the passion. Look at the amplification of the Attitude Era. And how are you going to compare today's product? Cody Rhodes always does this. Cody Rhodes says we are currently in, and I truly believe this, he says, we are in the best era ever of pro wrestling. And Cody says it with a straight face. And Hunter backs it up with this era. And the Netflix era coming up, it's going to be way bigger than the Attitude Era. How can you make those promises when Nick Khan has just came out and said, we're not even changing our rating. We're going to remain, in fact, we're going to remain family friendly and advertiser friendly. So unless you're going to overnight get uber creative out of nowhere, Hunter, do you think a move to a streaming service is going to top what we got in the Attitude Era? Just compare it. Just compare it, guys. And you will see factually that this era can't light a candle to the Attitude Era. Look at the entrances alone. The theme music that would lead you into the pyro. But back in the day for the Attitude Era, it was like you were walking through or viewing a war zone. It was like bombs and rockets were going off. And it was literally called War Zone, by the way. It wasn't just pyro. It was just the arena was blasting off, about to take flight. It was so loud. There was so much pyro. And the music would be pulsating while the pyro was going off. And as the pyro is going off and the music is pulsating, they're roaming around the arena with the cameras. It's zooming in and out. Women are flashing nonstop. We just talked about it in yesterday's upload. Or was it the upload just earlier, I should say. Part 1, we talked about this. And the women would be, you'd be a teenager, you'd be a kid, you look to your left, you look to your right, and women are flashing. This is the intro to Raw, man. It's not like a signature. This is live. This is what we got every single Monday night. We were live. Pyro's blasting off, music is pulsating, women are flashing, everybody's got a sign screaming at the top of their lungs. That's the place to be. Ratings through the roof because you couldn't watch anything else. Even Monday Night Football was getting smacked upside the dome piece. There's people today that go, nothing can compete with football, man. You got to give wrestling some slack. If they only knew what was going on back in the Attitude Era, how good pro wrestling was, how exciting, how captivating. You could not miss. It was appointment must-see television. That was the intro. You look at the intros today. What do we got? Come on, let's be honest, man. Let's talk about what Hunter just said, and let's be honest about it. Hold Hunter accountable for this, because you can't just erase the Attitude Era because you're hoping for better, because you're now the guy in charge. So by erasing history, we can say this is true success, the Netflix era. So I ask honestly, how do we start shows today, man? We start by Joe Tessitore or Adnan Virk or Kevin Patrick or Jim Smith or whoever is the commentator at the time. We start with them going, welcome everyone to blah blah Utah or blah blah Michigan. Welcome everybody to Raw. Tonight we have a good show for you. Tonight you're going to see Braun Breaker. That's it. That's it. No pyro. There's a theme song, I believe, and it puts you to sleep. It's just mumble. The theme song is, not only is it not memorable, I can't even give you like a line from it. I remember the one they had before. It was just as bad. Maybe this one's a little worse, but greatness. All we do is greatness. We were destined for greatness. Greatness. Yeah, greatness. That was it. That was the theme song. That's all I remember from it anyway. I'm not saying it has to be like rock and something that pulsates through the arena, but I mean, if you're going hip hop or rap or anything like that, cool. There's a lot of good stuff out there in the rap and the hip hop world that'll coincide with wrestling. This just doesn't go. I mean, the music is playing. You can barely hear it. You barely want to hear it. The fans don't even know if they're live because it's not pulsating. There's no excitement. So while Joe Tessitore is telling us welcome to Raw, the fans are like, yeah. Then all of a sudden a golf, right? I'm being honest. A golf clap starts. I mean, that's dumbfounding. If there's anybody out there that was around for the Attitude Era, or even if you're younger and you know enough about it, you've seen enough of it, it's night and day difference. There is no energy, there is no excitement, there is no amplification before a wrestler even steps through the curtain. It is a night and day difference. Open, shut. That book, if you opened it, you shut it right back. If you open that door, you slam it right back shut. Because there's no conversation to be had. This era is nowhere close to the Attitude Era. And Cody Rhodes can claim this is the best era all he wants. But it's going to take more than a bloodline story, which thanks to Paul Heyman has been pretty damn good for 2 freaking years for the most part. Again, Paul Heyman is residing over that. But if not for that and CM Punk and Drew McIntyre for the most part. A lot of times, decent, meh. But a lot of that feud, you could easily say feud of the year for WWE. But you take that away, you had nothing else. Chad Gable and Otis and their breakup should have been more special, but it wasn't. A creative fail. Wyatt's debuting and everything afterwards should have been epic. It wasn't. Creative fail thus far. We got to see what happens with Final Testament Wyatt's. This could be good. 2 weeks ago with Scarlett getting jumped backstage was really good. And then this week they followed it up with nothing. Karrion Kross just gave a 30-second pre-record. That's all they gave. They had no momentum to follow it. It's like they wanted to sabotage it. So there's a lot of things that could have been good. Other than that, it's subpar creative, and that's at best. The United States Championship on SmackDown. Every week, every month, the same thing. It's LA Knight, Melo, Andrade, Santos. It's like those four individuals are the only mid-card for the blue brand. And then out of nowhere, he just drops the championship to a guy that just came back 2 weeks earlier, Shinsuke. That's the best creative you got? That's what you're saying is better than anything we got in the Attitude Era? The ladies, of course, talented and the skill, all of that, much better than what we had back in the day. There's no doubt about it. Performance-wise, these gals can rock in that ring now. It's not just about bra and panty matches anymore. But if you don't got booking and creative to back it up, nobody's going to care, and that's why a lot of individuals don't. You can make new championships all you want, but if you're going to create tag team titles for the ladies and not have a division, you have tag teams, but you don't have a division, well, that's why people aren't going to care about the titles. So now you just created 2 new singles titles for the ladies. And you did it in the most obscure way, by the way. You didn't even make a big deal about the announcements. You put together a stupid little triple threat tournament, and we're going to crown 2 more champions for the ladies. But without good creative and good booking, it's just going to be more toys to carry around through the airport. You guys know I'm right. This is amplified truth that you were getting. I'm literally factually going through everything they're doing now. There's some stuff that's good. Some stuff will go, it's not bad. And most of it needs work. And you're sitting there going that I feel this Netflix era is going to be way, way bigger than the Attitude Era. In what way, bro? Before a wrestler stepped through the curtain in the Attitude Era, the way that we would begin shows back in the day is better than all 2 hours of Raw today. That is a sad, not hot take, but fact bomb. I will take an intro from a Monday Night Raw from the Attitude Era over anything in the 2 hours of Raw today. And Netflix ain't gonna change that, bro. You go from everything you saw in the Attitude Era and you look at what we get today while we parade around prime energy drinks nonstop. Prime sugar drinks. Back in the day, you're getting beer bashes, man. While we're trying to find out why R-Truth is calling Petey Dunne Butch and irritating Petey Dunne. He's not Butch, he's Pete. We got Stone Cold going to war with his own boss, Vincent McMahon. There was a buzz. It was cool to be a wrestling fan because everything was cool about it. The merchandise. We said this earlier in podcast, Amped Up Show Part 1 earlier. We talked about the merch. Kids were going to school with shirts that said fuck off or shirts that said suck it with an arrow pointing down. That's what they were going to school. Kids were getting suspended from school. Detention. Now, it is sad. The merchandise today, it's who would want to wear it? Who would want to sport most of the shit you see today, man? It's so goofy. It's like the opposite of cool. And we hear everybody trying to feed us that this is the best era, that this is the coolest era, that this is better than the Attitude Era, right? The Rock saying wrestling is cool again. How many times did we hear that WrestleMania season? Wrestling is cool again. Where, man? Where's all the shirts? Where's everybody talking about it? Where's the ratings going through the roof? What are you talking about? Wrestling's cool again because WWE's making a lot of money? Cody Rhodes, man, we're living in the best wrestling era ever. How do you figure, bro? Because most of us are not feeling that passion, that excitement. We're not captivated by most of what we're seeing. WWE's making a lot of money, but AEW is forced to go to smaller venues. The local bingo halls are barely selling 20 tickets to their weekend shows. TNA Impact Wrestling, that's been around forever, they're struggling like they've always been. They're barely getting by. My point is the whole industry is hurting right now. So how is this the greatest era of all time, Cody Rhodes? And Hunter Hearst Helmsley now saying that this is way bigger than the Attitude Era. We're going to deem it the Netflix era, and the Netflix era is going to be bigger and better than the Attitude Era. How? Factually, that's not even possible to happen. Especially what Nick Khan just said. He debunked the lie that Hunter said just last month, that there are going to be these changes. They can be more free. They can do all these other things. Nick Khan is saying, nuh-uh, dude. He raised everybody's expectations. Stop. I'm here to lower them. We are going to remain with the same rating. We're going to remain family friendly. We're going to remain advertiser friendly. So no, he literally said the words, the product is not going to change in that aspect. So I don't know what you're expecting. Maybe we get less muting on edgier words, right? Maybe it won't be muted as much as Fox and Raw. I guess that's the best we can hope for. But the biggest aggravation is just when everybody tries to pat themselves on the back and try to feed us what they so desperately want us to believe. When you hear so many people within those walls of WWE or pro wrestling saying, oh, it's so cool, it's cooler than it's ever been, it's the best it's ever been, it's going to be bigger and better than ever before, an Attitude Era is going to be second fiddle to this era. When you hear them constantly trying to sell you on that, stop and think, why are they working so hard to try to make us believe that? And if you just remember the Attitude Era or go back and do some research on it, you'll see it's night and day, bruh. This era is nowhere close. And I'm trying to get it close. Trust me, you're never going to get another Attitude Era. It was the perfect storm at the right time. But we can definitely make pro wrestling a lot better than it is. And that's what I've been trying to do for 5 or 6 years that I've been making content on this channel. I'm trying. But a lot of people just don't want to hear it. They just want to believe that they're doing nothing wrong. And if we're speaking negatively on it or we're not praising it, then we're just hating on it. We're being too negative. How toxic. No, we're trying to make it better. We love this. But the second we stop lying to ourselves is the only way, the only chance, and the only moment we can really begin true change to make this better. Stop saying you're the best era ever. Stop saying this is the best product that it's ever been, and start doing it. Take the right steps necessary. You want to fluff up and sell your product, your big move to Netflix. I get it. You're there to answer questions as a salesman, basically. But you got to be careful. You cannot say, he brought up the Attitude Era. Having been a part of the Attitude Era, and at the peak of it, the height of it, I can say this, the Netflix era, is going to be way, way bigger. What are you talking about? How? Because it's on a streaming service? Many would say it's going to be a lot less viewership and a lot less hype. Because now people do have to go out of their way to go over to Netflix and start searching that with all of these other eye candy posters up, right? All of these, you have all the shows, all the movies, all the docs. I mean, you guys have been to just go to Netflix. It's like going into a Blockbuster Video and seeing all of the cases, right? And you're like, oh, you could be in there for an hour shopping around. That's what happens. You go over to WWE, you're trying to find WWE, you go on a Netflix, man, something else could catch your eye, and before you know it, you're like, do I need to watch 2 hours? I mean, I already know what's happening. It doesn't sound good. So some would argue this could be the worst era of all time. And that's saying something, because we were in those mid-90s, right before the Attitude Era. Yeah, the Godwins and the slop, which I would take, actually, more than most of what I see today. That's the conversation I have for you guys, man. I think this was another really good one, like part 1. Again, the Dustin Rhodes AEW conversation that took on a whole life of its own. That was really special to BC earlier. But this is a conversation that has to be had. I just hope the wrestlers from Cody to even The Rock to Hunter stop talking about Attitude Era. Stop trying to be the better era. Don't even mention era anymore, because we know what you're trying to do. You're trying to compare it to Attitude Era, and you're trying to belittle the Attitude Era. You're trying to make this era look like there's been no better time to be a wrestling fan. Why? Because we have so much wrestling? Because the ratings are showing you that that's not a good thing. It's too much. Again, the local bingo halls that are running those independent companies, they can't even fill half of those bingo halls. But wrestling is booming, I'm told. No, there's too much of it. There's more wrestlers than ever before. It's not saying they're captivating. Having every 5'7", 140-pound soaking wet dude be a pro wrestler because they did a lot of flips on their parents' trampoline in the backyard growing up. Who would have thought that doesn't equate to captivating pro wrestling television? Having more and more shows. WWE making record revenue. Who would have thought that doesn't equate to excitement? Man, I gotta give myself a pat on the back, because damn, it's that level of truth bombs. It's that level of honesty that I talk with my audience. That's why I love what we do on this channel. Because if nobody is going to drop it like it's hot and speak the actual factual takes and what's going on in these companies and in pro wrestling in general, if nobody else is going to do it, then we're just going to have to. Salute, unit. I appreciate you guys big time, man. Double upload Thursday. I used to love doing these. We did several of these back, can't say back in the day, but we used to do a lot of double upload Thursdays. We haven't been able to do one in a minute, so it's really cool that I was able to today. Again, I had to move a lot of stuff around anyway because of the Packer game, so that freed up the opportunity to do 2 uploads today. I hope you guys were able to catch both, man. Some of the best conversations all year. Here it is, December. And I really feel that today, over the course of 2 separate uploads, 2 amped up shows, part 1 and part 2, I really feel we had some of our best discussions, dude. So we're ending the year strong, bro. This is what we do. That's it. That's what I got for you guys, man. Raw's rating, by the way, 1.7, up from 1.5. So the New Day thing and the celebration and people, like, last week it was so well done with Xavier and Kofi. So, like, it was like, and then we knew it was the 10-year anniversary. So, like, we just had to see who's splitting up with who, and they waited to the second hour, so it was perfectly placed. And I thought that segment was very well done. But it was really the Survivor Series post show, right? Everybody's coming in for the post show, so that brought in a little extra too. So take that 200,000 jump from last week. Now the trick is, can they keep that? Because now we've already seen the turn. It was Big E that got booted. So we've already seen it. And it's not going to be the Survivor Series post show next week. So I look for them, bare minimum, depending on if the product is good or not, but bare minimum, they're going to lose 100,000 more than likely. They're going to go to a 1.6 bare minimum. If the show is not good next week, they'll absolutely drop under a 1.5, or at least hover around where they were the 2 weeks previous of this week, 1.5 average. Hopefully that makes sense. That's it, guys. That's what I got for you. Until next time, and there will be that next time. BC and the unit saying check you. Peace. Salud.